The greatest thrill that we can ever have is leading someone to Christ. I was in America, I was preaching, and it was just near Massachusetts. It was next door state. But I had a friend who was an ex-Marine soldier in World War II, and I knew that he wasn't well. And the Lord spoke to me and said, "Your friend is really ill. I want you to get a car and go and see him." He said, "I want you to go and see him." I said, "Lord, it's a long way, but it's about an hour and a half drive or something." And the Lord kept saying, "Go see them." How many have had that prompting? Go see them.
Yeah.
Phone them.
Yeah.
Go see them.
Yeah.
Go see them. And you get every day, 2 or 3 times you get that prompting. Ring them. Talk to them. You got to listen.
Yeah.
Otherwise, somebody's stock could be lost.
Yeah.
I got a car and I drove to Boxford, Massachusetts. Knocked on the door and his wife opened the door and she said, "Oh, Tim, he is so ill. He's nearly gone." I said, "Oh, really?" She said, "Come in." I went in and there was my friend Frank, lying on his bed, near death, very close to death. Couldn't talk, barely conscious. And I went over to him and I took his hand. I said, "Frank, it's Tim." And he looked at me and smiled a little smile and a tear ran. I said, "Mate, I've come to see you." And the Lord spoke to me and said, "I'm coming for him very soon." So I prayed with him and just encouraged him and thanked the family, went out. I thought, "You're not going to see him again. It's the last time you see him." As I went out the door, the Lord said, "Is Frank saved?" I said, "Yes, of course he is, Lord. He's been in our meetings. He's a good Presbyterian." And the Lord said, "Is he saved?" I said, "Well, of course." I'm explaining to the Lord, as you and I probably have all done. The Lord said, "Go back, make sure." I went back. I didn't want to because I thought it's embarrassing. I've been in there. I've said to his wife, "Can I just see Frank for 5 minutes?" I went in, took him by the hand. I said, "Frank, Jesus is coming for you very shortly." And I said, "I want you to be certain that when he comes, you're ready to meet him. That everything's great." I said, "Squeeze my hand if that's what you want. Squeeze my hand." So I'm going to pray a prayer for you. I know you can't speak, but I'll pray the prayer. If it's what you want, squeeze my hand. And I said, "Lord Jesus, you see Frank here. And he wants to be certain that when you're coming, just in a little while, he's ready to meet you, that his sin's gone. So right now, on his behalf, I'm asking you, Lord Jesus, would you wash Frank's sins away and come into his life?" And Frank squeezed my hand, and the tears ran out down his face, onto his pillow, and he wept. And I said, "Frank, you're saved." And he held my hand, weeping. The last thing I've seen is that old soldier who went through so many battles, fighting with all sorts of stuff. And here's this dear man right at the point of death. And he's holding my hand and the tears are running. And I knew in that moment that Jesus Christ of Nazareth had miraculously come into that man's heart. I said goodbye to the family, got in the car, arrived at the hotel, and the light was on the phone. Rang the messages and said, "Tim, 10 minutes after you left the house, Frank went into eternity." And I thought, if I hadn't gone, where would Frank be? If we don't go, where will they be? Are we happy to let multitudes slide into a lost eternity? Is church about our satisfaction, our provision, and our protection? Or is it about the passion of our hearts to touch a generation out there who without Christ are going to spend eternally separated in a place of outer darkness and wailing and gnashing of teeth, where the worms don't stop eating and the fire doesn't stop burning? If we believe that there's a hell, and a lot of churches don't anymore, a lot of preachers are scared to mention it, but without Christ, that is where people go. And so, even over this weekend, starting now, my prayer is that people would begin to get an addiction for human souls.